How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's doing pretty good so far. But just a little bit about fractional ownership. I just want to talk a little bit about that. Maybe kind of go back and forth, comparing maybe the charter fractional and maybe a little bit about a whole ownership. It really depends on kind of what you're doing and which will kind of fit your needs as far as whether you want to do a fractional charter, maybe a whole ownership. As far as a fractional, the good thing or the pros about the fractional ownership is, right, you only have maybe one point of contact, so you can kind of make a phone call and get your flight going for wherever you need to go. The quality of service is obviously going to be quite high for it. It's going to be very good, especially if you're buying into an aircraft or a company. And you're also able to kind of, if you're buying into a fractional ownership program, you're able to kind of fit the aircraft to that particular need of yours. So if you're having to fly a longer distance, you might want to have maybe like a jet or something, or if you're shorter, or like maybe it's just like a short hop, maybe something a little bit more smaller, not necessarily as expensive. That way you're not wasting more money. You're able to have multiple departure points, so you can kind of really there's a lot of areas that you can depart from, right? Not necessarily one specific place. The cons to it is going to be that the higher or the more you use it, the more costly it's going to get to you. You're kind of committed to that ownership, right? It's going to be a little bit more than charter, right? Because you're having to actually buy into it. And if we kind of look at charter just a little bit, right? The pros and cons of the charter is that you don't have a commitment. There's not a lot of capital going into it. You only pay for what you really have. You're only kind of paying for like those variable costs, whereas fractional is going to be a little bit more expensive, obviously. The charter, you're just kind of paying for that flight hour, whereas the fractional, you're having to pay a portion of that value of that aircraft, and then its residual cost is going to go down. All right, so that depreciation at the end of that contract. But it all really depends on kind of exactly what you're trying to really use it for, which one is going to be best fit for maybe you or your company. Because at least with the fractional, you're kind of guaranteed hours throughout the year. You don't really, you can kind of give them a short notice. I'm talking probably within like hours, whereas charter might, maybe not so much. You probably have to maybe a little bit further out, and you can kind of choose from the type of aircraft that you have, or which ones you need, depending on what kind of need that you're trying to fulfill. But that's all I really got on the pros and cons of the fractional ownership.